Hey, this is Mufasi popping in to tell you to subscribe, like the video, hit that bell icon. If you enjoy it, check out more of our videos and check out the full episode. You can watch here on YouTube and check it out on Spotify. Goodbye, enjoy. Why do you think, like, wrestling resonated with you so much? Like, you could watch something and latch on to anything, but why do you think wrestling is the thing that was like, oh, I'm in this now, and this is it?
I wouldn't have been able to answer that at the time, but I mean, now I can look back and just think there's just so much that interests me. Like I already said, the behind the scenes stuff fascinated me right away. But I mean, I was a theater kid growing up, so like seeing the performative side, I think that's why WWE is so perfect for me, is that it is very storyline focused. And as much as I do love a lot of in-ring storytelling, in-ring action, I depend, like, going into that match, I want to care about the story. I want to care why someone's going to win and not just how they win. So I found myself asking, and that's the other thing WWE does really well at some of their bigger shows. And I've heard longtime fans, I've heard the opinion that they don't like these recap packages before matches. But I think what those fans they forget is that there are some people watching for the first time or getting into it, and that was huge for me. Watching the pre-match stuff for Kevin and Sammy and then the Usos, like seeing all that, like the previous Bloodline stuff that was coming up, that was going to pour into Cody versus Roman and people, like all this. Getting the little package leading up to it and how well it's pretty produced, like it's a pretty good packages that they put together for these. It hooked me, so I immediately got like a quick oh damn, like okay, I see why we're here. It's not just this guy against this guy, and if you know, good luck. And it's I was just hooked from the way they tell the stories, the presentation. I love the entrances. I'm a big sound guy. I think music and sound, entrance music, can enhance a situation or enhance a story in a movie or anything. So just it's actually kind of wild how many little aspects of pro wrestling it just aligns with things that I can resonate with.
That's something I've noticed amongst like theater, obviously, and then like we're both film school kids, so that as well. And just like people who are generally into like art are also into pro wrestling, because pro wrestling is art. I thought it was funny you mentioned like the video packages, because I remember back when I first started wrestling, this was before streaming, and when you only could pay $50 to see Royal Rumble or SummerSlam on a pay-per-view. I didn't have access to watch those pay-per-views when I was younger, or most wrestling for that matter, unless it was like live on TV. So I would go on YouTube and I would straight up just binge watch video packages for different pay-per-view matches, and it would be like Randy Orton versus John Cena, like I don't know, SummerSlam 2010 or whenever it was, like video package promo. And just that alone is so entertaining, and like it catches you up in like 3-4 minutes on what's going on. So stuff like that is I think super important. I didn't know that people were like critical of that. I haven't seen anything like that. So that's
I've seen some where it's usually the crowd that is also complaining that like there's not enough wrestling in their PLE of like the commercials. It's like, oh, now we're gonna watch 3 minutes of stuff we already know. Like we're wasting all this time. It's usually that crowd. But
I don't have Peacock Premium Plus, so I have to watch the ads
live when you're watching live.
Yeah.
Because when you're watching live, if you don't have Premium Plus, it plays more ads than you do. But if you have Premium Plus, then it plays all the video packages. That's why Michael Cole is always like, for those who have Peacock Premium Plus,
here's what happened. Yeah,
I guess I didn't know. Like I said, I don't pay for mine. I guess I just didn't.
Maybe
know.
you have.
I didn't know there were. I didn't even know there were levels to it. I just thought it was.
It's like an extra $5 or some shit like that.
Oh, thanks, internet.
The video packages are great though, because this past weekend I flew up for. It turned into me helping some friends move, but after we moved everything in, we're sitting there, we're like really fucking tired, and we're like, all right, what do we want to do? And I'm like, we're putting on wrestling because I have missed so much wrestling this weekend because this last weekend was crazy. So I put on Bash in Berlin, and then we started No Mercy, and in the morning they wanted to finish it. They are not wrestling fans, but they got so invested because of the video packages. And especially like in No Mercy, when Joe Hendry came out, they were like, oh my God, he's the Ryan Gosling of wrestling. And I was like, you listen, you're not wrong. And they got so invested, like both of them were just sitting there staring at it. And I'm like, yes, we got another.
I may have even heard the meme before, because I've seen that the Joe Hendry meme has leaked out into like
mainstream,
not just wrestling culture.
So I think that, yeah, WWE is great at like doing that, and that's not some people's styles, and that's okay.
That's why there's options, man. That's why there's different shows, there's different options. And
before we started doing this, like I knew the tribalism was a thing, and people were like, oh, I hate AEW, like all this stuff, or I hate WWE, it's just a soap opera. And now that we started doing this, obviously we experience it way more with comments and stuff.
Yeah.
And
I think also though it's just gotten worse in general.
Yeah.
For some reason, and it,
yeah,
it sucks to see.
And it's like you have wrestling on literally 6 days a week, and I don't understand why people are like, they get so attached, and you're not allowed to like another thing. You're just not. And if you like another thing, then you're wrong, and you're not a wrestling fan.
You don't like what I like.
Yeah.
It reminds me, it's so bad that it reminds me of the stupid like the console wars growing up.
Oh yeah.
Of like Xbox versus PlayStation. you could tell there's people that don't understand how competition works and how it affects things.
Yeah.
Like there are so many people that are like a PlayStation fan or an Xbox fan that would snap their finger and delete the opposition just because, and they have no critical like ability to think like how that would affect the thing they love. Right. And it's like I'm as much as I know I'm WWE first right now, I want AEW to succeed, because if AEW puts on a banger of a show, I know there's dudes wearing a big WWE logo on their shirt in a boardroom somewhere, like, well, we got to beat that. Like we got to do something. Especially now that I'm learning about the Monday Night Wars, and that's something we're watching weekly on the Patreon.
Are you watching the documentary series on
Peacock?
Yeah.
I'm learning all about like the war between WWE and WCW, and I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Like, this is exactly what it should be. Both these shows are clawing to be better, to beat the other one. Like, sure, you're like these guys can want to beat each other, but neither should want. I mean, I guess the companies can want the other to be deleted because that's a lot of eyes and money back to them. But as a viewer, it's such a prime time
great,
to watch them duke it out.
In that respect too, I think as a viewer it's better, and in turn that I feel like that does just result in more money. Like either way, obviously, like one results in more money than the other, but like it's just it's options, man. I think it's a good point too. You mentioned competition.
Plus, you don't have to pick. It's not like the console where you don't have to just pick one.
Yeah, you can do multiple,
and you can do whatever you want and enjoy it. It's something we see a lot of is like, oh, bro, it's not even competition. And it's like, well, I remember in October when Adam Copeland went to AEW, Adam Copeland, aka Edge. He was like advertised. They did a Tuesday night AEW Dynamite where he had like his first match or something, and then immediately when that was announced, NXT started advertising Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Undertaker. So to say that AEW isn't, it doesn't matter even like how popular you are. Competition is competition. I would say AEW is very. I don't think they will ever be number one, but they will at the very least, always be number two, just because WWE is so huge and global. Unless by some like,
it's like at that point, it's like rooting against Google. Like they've got their footing, they are where they are. It would take a lot for them to come down. Yeah,
so I think like just to be like it's not even competition is a very cooked take, because no matter what level you're at, it is always going to be considered competition. Even TNA is competition to a degree, even though they're like partnering with WWE. You know, they compete on their own level too. It's there are levels, right? And that's kind of, but none of that matters.
Yep.
You know, it's just like as a former tribalist, I used to be heavy AEW only. I know.
This guy's crazy.
Yeah, I used to be heavy.
Okay, did you not like WWE?
I would watch it, but I liked AEW more. I didn't. So I guess in that sense, maybe I wasn't a tribalist, but I was very vocally like hating on WWE, like, wow, like this sucks.
Constantly,
like, yeah. But I would still watch it because I'm curious enough to stay interested in it. It was that boom period of AEW where they were taking all of the WWE releases and like signing them, and arguably like their product then I think was better than it is now. But it got to a point, and once I realized that both were good at the same time, that they don't always both have to be good at the same time. In fact, that's kind of like part of what we do is like we point out what's good, we point out what's bad, and we point out why we like it and why we don't like it. So like there's I don't know.
That's also part of the advantage of being a fan right now, though, is if one's in a lull, okay,
you can turn to the other one.
One of the other 4 options that you could watch are probably doing all right. You could watch that for now.
I say this a lot, but we are so spoiled as wrestling fans. We are spoiled little children because we have access to so much, not only live content, but just like, you know, the vault and the archives of wrestling, that we're so damn spoiled. And on top of that, wrestling creators too provide us with like another perspective. Like again, like yours, for example, is a great perspective that I really appreciate, and so many other creators too in podcasts. Like, you know, it's crazy because the market for it is so huge, but I think everyone kind of brings a different spin and perspective on everything.
Yeah.
I think we're also spoiled in that respect.
All the different perspectives. It's cool because like we're viewing it as like longtime fans of wrestling, and like your perspective is you're new and you're exploring and you're branching out into all the different companies and you have questions. I actually really like when I was catching up on your content this week, I really like the questions that you pose to fans instead of having like a Q&A. It's the opposite. And I had a blast like just scrolling through the comments and just seeing what people were saying.
I'll make my dinner or my lunch and I go through and I know there's a lot of people. I saw somebody's like, he's not reading any of these. It's just engagement bait or whatever.
No,
and
your
I'm
little
like,
heart was right next to all of them. You're reading all of them.
I'm scrolling, and I replied to that dude. I was like, I'm literally reading this right now. So I don't know what to tell you.
Dude, I love reading comments.
Yeah.
I'll go through. It's especially because everyone there's a lot of different perspectives you can get on, like, a lot of the questions that I'll ask. They don't just have a right answer. You might even think that there is, but yet if you get, 500 comments from different people on the same question, it's insane how many are really sure that it's something else.
Yeah.
Or like, no matter how much, like 75% will be like, yeah, it's A. But then there's a bunch of people that'll be like, well, actually, what you don't realize is that if you look back in whatever B is actually, so it's really fascinating. Because then instead of just me Googling, which I could just Google the question or whatever, but
it's more fun.
That's super lame. Like that's super, like I'll ask a question in my Discord before I'll Google it. Like if I don't need it's way more fun to have a discussion. The social aspect of it is just so much fun, of just being able to get these different perspectives, and it's fascinating.